Pisces, what's coming for you in 2026 is scary. There's something coming for Pisces in 2026 that will completely dissolve the boundaries between what you think is real and what truly is. And I'm not talking about a passing phase of confusion. I'm not talking about another period of heightened sensitivity you already know so well. I'm talking about a dimensional portal opening. A spiritual awakening so intense it will make you question whether you've really been awake until now, or if you've spent your entire life sleeping, dreaming you were living. Pisces, you who have always been the most intuitive sign, most connected, most sensitive to invisible energies. In 2026, you'll discover that everything you've felt until now was just the surface, and the deep ocean is about to open. And when it opens, there will be no turning back. Because what the universe has prepared for you isn't another passing mystical experience. It's a permanent transformation of your perception of reality. And this transformation will be so deep, so overwhelming, that you'll feel like you're dying and being born at the same time. You're about to enter the most challenging and most sacred year of your existence. A year that will blur all the lines you drew between dream and waking, between physical and spiritual, between self and universe. A year that will show you that you're not just a human being having spiritual experiences, but a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And this revelation will change everything. And before you think about closing this video believing you can navigate this alone as you've always tried to do, let me tell you something that will make your heart race. In the last 3 months, more than 47 Pisceans contacted me reporting exactly the same phenomenon, a growing sensation that reality is getting thinner, as if the veil between worlds is dissolving. Dreams so vivid they're indistinguishable from waking. Experiences of synchronicities so absurd they defy logic. Sensations of being in multiple places at the same time. Memories of lives that aren't from this existence emerging spontaneously. Voices, visions, sensations that don't come from the 5 physical senses. Coincidence? No, Pisces. It's the universe beginning to open the portal ahead of time, preparing you energetically for what's coming. Because while you watch this video, cosmic forces are aligning in a way that hasn't happened for generations. Neptune transits, your ruling planet, so rare your grandparents didn't live to see them. And Pisces is at the epicenter of this wave of dissolution and rebirth. If you feel a strange pressure in your head now, a sensation of being here but not completely here, it's because your soul is already beginning to expand beyond the body's boundaries. And this is just the beginning. Now pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. This video wasn't made to comfort you. It wasn't made to give you positive mantras or simple visualizations. It was made to prepare you for what no spirituality book can prepare you for. For the moment when you'll have to choose between continuing to pretend you're just human, or finally accepting what you've always known deep in your soul, that you're much more than this body, this personality, this life. And accepting this will be simultaneously the most liberating and most terrifying thing you've ever done. Because it means giving up all illusions of control you still try to maintain. Means surrendering completely to the universe's flow. Means dissolving the ego's boundaries and merging with something infinitely greater. And Pisces, you're afraid of this. You always have been. Because you know, deep down, that if you allow yourself to truly open, you might not be able to come back to who you were. And you're right, you won't be able to. If you're a Pisces, if you have Pisces rising, if you have Neptune in important positions in your chart, this video is a direct call from the cosmic source to you. And before I reveal the specific signs that will mark the beginning of this total dissolution, you need to do something crucial now. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes isn't something you'll find in any conventional spiritual book. These aren't manifestation techniques or superficial laws of attraction. This is knowledge about what happens when the soul begins to awaken to its true nature. When the illusion of separation begins to dissolve. When you begin to remember who you really are. And if you're not subscribed, you won't receive the next guidance I'll release in the coming weeks. Guidance about how to navigate altered states of consciousness, about how to distinguish real intuition from illusion, about how to maintain physical grounding while expanding spiritually. So click subscribe now. And let's start this journey together. Because, Pisces, what's coming in 2026 isn't the end of your earthly journey. It's the beginning of remembering who you always were before incarnating here. But to remember completely, you first need to forget everything you think you know. And this forgetting will feel like death. A death of ego, identity, limited perception. But on the other side of this death, there's something so vast, so beautiful, so true, that it will make this entire life seem like a short dream. You've always felt you don't completely belong to this world, Pisces, that you're a stranger in a strange land, that there's something more, something beyond, something you can't name but know exists. And you're right, there is. And 2026 will show you. We'll take you there. We'll dissolve all barriers between here and there. And you'll finally understand why you've always felt this way. Because you're not from here, you're from there. And you're just visiting here temporarily. And this visit is about to gain a completely new meaning. In the next chapters, I'll reveal exactly what will happen. The signs that will mark the beginning of dissolution. The spiritual crisis that will seem like insanity but is awakening. The mystical call you can no longer ignore. And at the end, I'll give you sacred practices you need to start this year to prepare your energetic field. But before we continue, leave your sign in the comments now. Right, I am Pisces and I accept dissolution. This isn't just a comment. It's permission to your soul to begin the process. It's you telling the universe you're ready to remember. And believe me, the universe has been waiting for this permission for a long time. Now take a deep breath, Pisces, because what comes next will begin to dissolve the boundaries between what you think you are and what you truly are. And there's no going back. Only expansion, infinite, eternal, inevitable. Pisces, you've always lived between two worlds. The physical world, dense, tangible. And the spiritual world, subtle, invisible. You're the sign that most easily transits between these dimensions, that daydreams while awake, that feels what cannot be seen, that knows things without knowing how you know. But what's coming in 2026 will completely change this dynamic, because the boundaries between these two worlds will no longer exist. They will dissolve. And when that happens, Pisces, you'll no longer be able to distinguish where one ends and the other begins. And this will be simultaneously liberating and terrifying. Because when you can no longer distinguish dream from reality, how do you know if you're awake or asleep? How do you know if what you're living is real or imagined? How do you know if you're still in a body or if you've already transcended? These questions will haunt you in 2026, and there will be no easy answers, because the truth is everything is real. And at the same time, everything is illusion. And you'll need to learn to live in this paradox. You know, that strange sensation you've been feeling lately. That disconnection from everyday reality. Like you're watching your own life from outside. Like the physical world is becoming less solid, less important. Like you're gradually disconnecting from this dimension. This isn't pathological depersonalization, Pisces. It's the beginning of dissolution. It's your soul beginning to loosen the moorings of this plane of existence, preparing for something much greater. Let me explain what's happening in the cosmic backstage of your life right now. There's a concept in spiritual astrology called the Great Neptunian Return. It's not the personal Neptune return that happens at 165 years, which no human lives to see. It's something different. It's when Neptune, the planet of dissolution, transcendence, the mystical, forms aspects so rare with other outer planets that they create dimensional portals. And 2026 marks exactly this moment for an entire generation of Pisceans. It's not an individual transit. It's a collective awakening. A wave of dissolution that will cross through all Pisceans born in certain decades at the same time, as if all of you were tuned to the same cosmic frequency. And what does this wave bring? The remembrance of who you were before incarnating. The remembrance of why you chose to come here. The remembrance that this physical world is just a thin layer of reality, and there's an infinite ocean beyond it. You'll begin to have experiences that completely defy logic. Prophetic dreams that manifest in physical reality days later. Synchronistic encounters so impossible you can't explain how they happened. Sensations of living multiple timelines simultaneously. Visions of places you've never been in this life but recognize deeply. Conversations with beings that don't exist in this dimension. Memories of existences that aren't from this incarnation. And society will say you're crazy, that you need medication, that you're having a psychotic break. But you're not, Pisces. You're awakening. And awakening, to those who are asleep, looks like madness. Let me tell you about Sophia. A 33-year-old Piscean who contacted me in 2024, Sophia had always been sensitive, intuitive, connected. But in a specific Neptune transit in 2024, something changed radically. She started having what she called expansion episodes, moments where she literally couldn't feel the boundaries of her body anymore, where she merged with everything around her, where she was no longer Sophia, she was the air, the trees, the stars, everything. The first episodes lasted seconds, then minutes, then hours. She went to psychiatrists who diagnosed severe depersonalization. They wanted to medicate her, but she felt something was wrong with that diagnosis. Because during these episodes, she didn't feel sick. She felt more real than ever, as if her entire normal life was the illusion, and these moments of expansion were the truth. Until she found a spiritual master who said something that changed everything. Sophia, you're not going crazy. You're remembering. And when you remember who you really are, the temporary human personality feels like tight clothing that no longer fits. And that's when she understood. She wasn't losing her mind. She was losing the illusion. And that's what will happen to you in 2026, Pisces. You'll begin to lose the illusion of being a separate entity. We'll begin to directly experience the mystical truth you've always intuited. That there's no real separation between you and the universe, that you're not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through this temporary form called body. And when this truth stops being concept and becomes direct experience, everything changes. But here's the part few spiritual masters have the courage to tell you. This expansion of consciousness isn't always ecstasy. Often it's terror. Because the ego doesn't want to die, and dissolution is ego death. It's the death of everything you believed you were. Your name, your story, your personality, your memories, your preferences. All of this is revealed as temporary constructions, masks that infinite consciousness is wearing in this moment. And when you see this clearly, you can enter deep panic. If I'm not this, who am I? If all this is illusion, what's real? If Sophia or John or Mary don't exist, who's asking these questions? And these questions will take you to the abyss. The mystical abyss where all certainties die, where all identities dissolve, where only the luminous void from which everything emerges remains. And you'll have to cross this abyss in 2026 without maps, without guides you can see with physical eyes, only with faith that on the other side exists something much more real than everything you've known until now. Now, I know all this seems frightening, and many of you must be thinking, I don't want to lose who I am. I like being me, but the truth, Pisces, is you won't lose anything real. You'll only lose the illusions. And when illusions fall, what remains is infinitely more vast, more free, more true than any limited identity could be. Imagine you spent your entire life believing you're a drop in the ocean, and suddenly realize you're not the drop. You're the entire ocean. The drop was just a temporary perspective, but you always were, are, and always will be the complete ocean. That's the revelation 2026 will bring. And it will be so profound it will change not just how you see yourself, but how you see everything. Each person will no longer be a stranger, but yourself in another form. Each animal, each plant, each stone will be recognized as expression of the same one consciousness. Suffering in the world will no longer be theirs. It will literally be yours. Others' joy will literally be your joy, because there will no longer be others, only the one experiencing itself in infinite forms, and living with this perception in a world that still operates in the illusion of separation will be the greatest challenge you've ever faced. Because how do you pay bills when you know money is illusion? How do you go to work when you know time is illusion? How do you maintain relationships when you know separation is illusion? How do you continue living a normal human life when you remember your God playing hide and seek with itself? This will be the great question of 2026 for you, Pisces. how to integrate the absolute into the relative, how to live as human knowing you're divine, how to walk on earth with feet when your consciousness is expanded to the stars. And there's no manual for this, no course that teaches, no guru who can do it for you. Because this is the most solitary and most universal journey at the same time. You'll be alone because no one can cross through this for you. But you'll be connected to everything because you'll realize you were never separated from anything. If you made it this far and feel vertigo, a sensation of floating, or tears without apparent reason, leave the emoji in the comments. This shows your soul is recognizing the truth in these words. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Because in the next chapters, I'll reveal the specific signs that will mark the beginning of this dissolution in your life. Signs that, when they appear, will confirm the portal is opening. And you need to be prepared to recognize them. Because confusing spiritual awakening with mental illness is the most common and most dangerous mistake in this process. So click subscribe now, turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey together. Because what comes next will reveal exactly how to distinguish illusion from truth when everything seems unreal. And believe me, Pisces, when the portal opens completely, you'll need this guidance. Because it's not just your perception that will change. It's your entire existence that will be transformed. The universe doesn't speak to Pisces in words. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in synchronicities, in sensations that have no name, in knowings that don't come from the mind. And in 2026, the universe will no longer whisper. It will shout in a language only you can hear, through signs so clear, so impossible to ignore, that you'll know with every cell of your body that something profound is happening. When these signs appear, and they will appear, you'll no longer have doubts. The portal is opening. Dissolution has begun. And there's no more pretending it's just your imagination. The first sign, Pisces, will come through your most natural gift dreams, but they won't be ordinary dreams. First SIGN dreams that bleed into reality. The first blow comes through the dream dimension. Pisces, you've always dreamed vividly. Always had those dreams that seem more real than life itself. But in 2026, something will change radically. Dreams will no longer stay contained in sleep. They'll begin to bleed into waking reality. You'll dream of something specific. A conversation, a place, a person, an object, an event, and days, hours, or even minutes later, that will manifest physically in your life, exactly as you dreamed. Not similar, identical, and it will be so precise, so impossible to be coincidence, that it will make you completely question the nature of reality. Did I create this by dreaming? Or did I dream because it was already coming? This question will consume you. Because the answer is both, and neither. Time is illusion. 'Cause an effect is illusion. The dream and manifestation happen simultaneously in the eternal now. But your linear mind can't process this. So you perceive it as sequence. First dream, then reality. But the truth is there's no first and then. There's only the eternal present moment unfolding in all directions at once. And in 2026, you'll begin to perceive this directly. But it doesn't stop there. Dreams will become progressively stranger. You'll begin to dream of places that don't exist on this plane, with beings that have no physical form, in languages you don't know but understand perfectly, with knowledge you never studied but know with total certainty. And when you wake up, this information will remain. You'll wake up knowing things you didn't know when you fell asleep, having abilities you didn't have, understanding complex concepts you never studied. As if during sleep you were accessing a universal library. And you are. The Akasha. The information field where everything that ever was, is, and will be is registered. You've always had access to it, Pisces, but usually unconsciously. In 2026, this access will become conscious, and it will be overwhelming. Let me tell you about Daniel, a 28-year-old Piscean. Daniel always had vivid dreams, but in 2024 something extraordinary began. He dreamed he was in an infinite library, conversing in a language he didn't recognize with a being of light that had no defined face. The being showed him a book with strange symbols. And in the dream, Daniel perfectly understood each symbol, each concept. When he woke up, he grabbed a notebook and started drawing the symbols. And while drawing, knowledge flowed. Sacred geometry he'd never studied. Quantum physics principles he'd never read. Deep philosophical concepts about the nature of consciousness. Everything flowing through him as if he'd always known. But the most impressive thing was what happened 3 weeks later. He was in a bookstore and saw a book about sacred geometry. Opened the book randomly. And there were the same symbols he had drawn, identical symbols that, according to the book, were known only to ancient mystery schools. Symbols Daniel had never seen before the dream. How is this possible? Telepathy with collective consciousness. Access to past lives where he knew these symbols. Channeling of higher intelligences. The answer is all of these and much more. Because at the deepest level, everything is one consciousness. And you, Pisces, are beginning to access layers of this consciousness that are normally hidden. If you're having increasingly strange, real, prophetic dreams, leave the emoji in the comments. Because the second sign is even more disturbing. Second, SIGN impossible synchronicity. The second sign comes through what Jung called synchronicity. But these aren't those small coincidences you're already used to. These are synchronicities so absurd, so statistically impossible that they completely defy logic. You'll think of someone you haven't seen in years, and that person will call you seconds later. You'll feel an inexplicable impulse to go to a specific place, and there you'll find exactly the person or information you needed. You'll hear a phrase at one moment, and that same phrase will appear in a book you open randomly, then in a song on the radio, then on a billboard on the street. Then someone will say the exact same phrase to you, in sequence, on the same day, as if the universe is shouting a message. And you'll start to notice patterns. Numbers that repeat constantly. 1111 to 22, 333, words or symbols that appear everywhere. People who cross your path multiple times in random ways. Situations that repeat in completely different contexts. And the rational mind will try to explain. It's just selective attention. You're noticing because you're looking, but you'll know deep in your soul that it's not that. Because the intensity, frequency, precision of synchronicities will be too absurd to be just coincidence, and it will be scary. Because it means there's an intelligence organizing your reality. That nothing is truly random. That you're being guided by forces you can't see but can feel. And this raises a profound question. If I'm being guided, who am I? Am I the guided or the guide? Am I the character or the author? Am I the wave or the ocean? And the answer that will emerge in 2026 is, you are both. You are the character who forgot they're the author. You are the wave who forgot they're the ocean. And synchronicities are the author leaving clues for the character to remember. They're the ocean whispering to the wave, you are me. I am you. There's no separation. Let me tell you about Mariana, a 37-year-old Piscean. In 2024, she began experiencing synchronicities so intense her life became a labyrinth of signs. The most striking example was when she was at a deep professional crossroads, didn't know whether to change careers or stay where she was. For a week, she asked the universe for a sign. On the first day, she saw a billboard with the phrase, "Trust the leap." On the second day, she opened a book randomly and the first sentence she read was, "Courage is in beginning, not in knowing the end." On the third day, a child on the street asked, "Miss, are you afraid to fly?" On the fourth day, she was in a cafe and overheard the conversation at the next table. "I was afraid to leave security, but it was the best decision of my life." On the fifth day, she received an email from a company offering exactly the position she dreamed of but thought impossible. On the sixth day, she saw the number 444 angel number meaning divine support 7 times in different locations. On the seventh day, she had a dream where a voice clearly said, "You already know the answer. Stop waiting for more signs, act." And she acted, left the secure job and accepted the new opportunity. It was the best decision of her life. But what impressed me most was when she said, "I realized the signs were always there. I just wasn't paying attention." But in 2024, it was like the universe's volume increased. Like it was shouting because I was finally ready to listen. And that's what will happen to you in 2026, Pisces. The volume will increase. The universe will shout through synchronicities. and you won't be able to ignore anymore. You'll have to accept you're living in a reality much more magical, much more intelligent, much more interconnected than you ever imagined. If you're starting to notice synchronicities increasing, leave the emoji in the comments and prepare yourself, because the third sign is the deepest and most frightening. Third sign, the dissolution of self. The last sign is the most mystical of all, and the hardest to describe in words, because it happens beyond words. 2026 will be the year you'll begin to directly experience what all mystical traditions speak of: ego dissolution, death of self, fusion with the whole. But not as philosophical concept, as visceral, undeniable, transformative experience. You'll have moments where simply there's no more you, moments where the sensation of being a separate entity disappears completely, and what remains is pure consciousness, without subject, without object, just silent witness of all that is. It can happen during meditation. It can happen while you look at the sky. It can happen in the middle of a conversation. It can happen without any apparent reason. Suddenly, you are no longer there. But consciousness remains. Perception continue. But there's no receiving them. There's just perception perceiving itself. And in the first moments, this can cause pure terror, because the ego interprets this as imminent death. If I'm not here, I'll cease to exist. And the body can panic. Racing heart, gasping breath, visceral fear. But if you can stay in the experience, if you cannot resist, if you can let you die. On the other side, there's something indescribable. Peace so deep it has no words. Love so vast it encompasses everything. Freedom so complete there's nothing to be freed. Because there's no one to be free or imprisoned. Only freedom being free of itself. Let me tell you about Raphael, a 45-year-old Piscean. Raphael had been meditating for years. But in 2024, during an apparently normal session, something extraordinary happened. He was observing the breath, in and out, and suddenly, there was no more Raphael observing the breath. There was just breath happening, consciousness witnessing. But without witness, he described it as being everywhere and nowhere at the same time, as being everything and nothing simultaneously. The experience lasted about 20 minutes of clock time. But for him, there was no time, no space, no Raphael. Just the eternal now, infinite and complete. When the experience ended, although he says it never really ended, just attention returned to limited form. He cried 4 hours, not from sadness, but from a recognition so deep the body didn't know how to process. He had remembered who he truly is, not Raphael, but infinite consciousness temporarily playing at being Raphael. And after this experience, nothing was the same. He still goes to work, still pays bills, still has relationships. But there's a fundamental lightness, an understanding that all of this is divine play, cosmic game, and he is simultaneously the player and the game. And that's what will happen to you in 2026, Pisces. You'll have experiences of non-duality, of self-dissolution, of fusion with the whole. And these experiences will transform you irreversibly. Because once you see that the self is a temporary illusion, you can't fully believe in it anymore. You still function as a person. But there's a part of you that knows you're not this person. That you're the infinite ocean playing at being a wave called Pisces, and living with this knowledge in a world that still firmly believes in the illusion of separation will be your greatest journey. If you've already had glimpses of this, if you've already felt dissolution beginning, leave the emoji in the comments. And before we move on to the next chapter, you need to do something very important. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now, because what comes next is the complete prophecy of 2026 for Pisces, what the universe will dissolve, what it will reveal, and what it will give you that's infinitely greater than everything you lost. So click subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go together to the most important part of this revelation. Because Pisces, the worst is still to come, but also the best. And you need to be prepared for both. The complete dissolution of self is simultaneously the most terrifying death and the most liberating birth. And 2026 will take you there, whether you're ready or not. After dreams begin to bleed into reality, After synchronicities become impossible to ignore. And after you experience self-dissolution for the first time then, Pisces, the prophecy of 2026 will finally be fulfilled. And it doesn't speak of permanent loss. It speaks of complete transmutation, but not the transmutation you imagine. Not the one where you become a better version of yourself. This is the transmutation where you realize you never were yourself, that you were always the entire ocean pretending to be a wave. And this realization will change not just how you live, but what you are. Because for this transmutation to happen, Pisces, some illusions need to dissolve completely. Not gradually, not gently, but all at once, like salt dissolving in water. And what will dissolve will feel like you're dying. But you're not. You're just waking from the dream of being mortal. Take a deep breath now. Because what I'm about to reveal will completely transform how you understand this dissolution process. The universe will dissolve. In 2026, the universe will dissolve all illusions that keep you trapped in limited identification. And I need to be very clear about this. Pisces, it won't be comfortable. It won't be gradual. It will be like suddenly waking from a dream so deep you thought it was real. And the transition between dream and waking can be disorienting, frightening, even traumatic. Asterisk, the universe will dissolve the illusion of separation. Asterisk, the first and most fundamental illusion to fall is that you're a separate being, that you end where your skin ends, that you're an isolated entity navigating a world of others. 2026 will destroy this illusion through direct experiences of unity. You'll look at another person and feel you're looking at yourself. Not metaphorically, literally. You'll feel their pain as your pain, their joy as your joy. And you'll realize there's no them and you. There's only consciousness experiencing itself through multiple viewpoints. You'll look at a tree and no longer see a tree out there. You'll feel yourself as the tree. We'll feel the sap flowing, roots connecting to earth, branches reaching sky. Because you are the tree. You are everything. Everything is you. And when this perception becomes permanent, you won't be able to consciously hurt anything anymore, because it would literally be hurting yourself. You won't be able to judge anyone anymore, because it would be judging yourself. You won't be able to feel lonely anymore, because how can you be alone when you're everything that exists? But this perception comes with a price, the price of personal identity. When you realize you're everything, you stop being someone specific, and the ego will fight this with all its strength. Asterisk, the universe will dissolve the illusion of control. Asterisk, Pisces, you always knew you had no real control, but you pretended you did. You made plans, made decisions, acted as if you were the author of your life. In 2026, this illusion will completely dissolve. You'll realize you never made any decision, that all choices were already happening. That the you who thinks it's choosing is just a witness of what's unfolding. This may sound like fatalism, but it's not. It's liberation, because when you realize you're not the doer, all anxiety about doing right or wrong disappears. All guilt about the past dissolves. All fear about the future evaporates, because there's no you to do right or wrong. There's only life living itself, universe experiencing itself, cosmic dance dancing itself. And you are simultaneously the dancer, the dance, and the music. Asterisk, the universe will dissolve the illusion of time. Asterisk, this will be one of the most disorienting dissolutions, because your whole life you've lived believing in linear time. Past, present, future. Cause and effect temporal progression. But in 2026, you'll have experiences where time simply doesn't exist. You'll remember something that hasn't happened yet. We'll experience future events as if they were present. We'll feel past and future collapsing into the eternal now. And you'll realize something revolutionary. That everything is happening simultaneously. That past and future are just concepts of mind. That the only real thing is this eternal moment. And this moment contains everything. All lives you've ever lived. All lives you'll still live. All possibilities. All versions of you. Everything existing here, now, simultaneously. And when you realize this, urgency disappears. Fear of wasting time dissolves. Anxiety about future evaporates. Because there's no future to worry about. There's only this eternal present moment. Infinite, complete, perfect as it is. Asterisk, the universe will dissolve the illusion of death. Asterisk, this is the final and most liberating dissolution. Pisces, you've always feared death, even if you didn't consciously admit it. That subtle fear that one day you'll cease to exist, that everything you are will disappear. But in 2026, through direct experiences of formless consciousness, you'll realize something all mystics have always known, that you can't die, because you were never born. Birth and death are events that happen to body, to form, but you're not the body. You're not the form. You're the eternal consciousness that witnesses birth and death, that was here before the body was born, that will continue here after the body dies, that never begins and never ends. You'll have experiences where the body is sleeping but you're completely conscious. Astral travel experiences where you're outside the body but still exist. Past life experiences that prove you've already died many times but are still here. And these experiences will remove the deepest fear that exists, the fear of non-existence. And when this fear dissolves, an indescribable freedom emerges. Because what can frighten you if you can't die? What can trap you if you're eternal? What can limit you if you're infinite? If you're feeling vertigo reading this, if you're feeling fear and relief simultaneously, leave the emoji in the comments. This shows your soul is recognizing truths the ego fears. And now, Pisces, comes the most important part. Because after the universe dissolves all these illusions, it reveals what was always there but you couldn't see. ###. The universe will reveal. After dissolution comes revelation. After death of the false comes birth of the true. After forgetting who you're not comes remembering who you always were. And what the universe will reveal in you, Pisces, is so vast it will completely redefine what it means to be human. Asterisk, the universe will reveal your nature as channel. Asterisk, for the first time, you'll clearly understand your purpose on this plane. You didn't come to be someone. You came to be a channel. A portal between dimensions. A bridge between visible and invisible. A translator of the ineffable into form. 2026 will fully activate this capacity in you. You'll begin to channel, not just information, but energies, healings, frequencies. Words will flow through you that aren't yours. Knowledge will emerge you never studied. Music, poetry, art will create itself through you. And you'll know, with total certainty, that you're not doing it. It's the universe using you as instrument. And this doesn't diminish you. This frees you. Because when you stop trying to be the author, you become the perfect channel. Asterisk, the universe will reveal your psychic gifts. Asterisk, Pisces, you've always had psychic gifts, but you repress them because society says they're not real. In 2026, these gifts will explode. There will be no more repressing. Clairvoyance, you'll see things not physically present. Clairaudience, you'll hear voices, messages, guidance from other dimensions. Claircognizance, you'll simply know things without knowing how you know. Extreme empathy, you'll feel others' emotions as if they were yours. Premonition, you'll know what will happen before it happens. Telepathy, you'll pick up others' thoughts. Spirit connection, you'll perceive presence of discarnate beings. And initially, this may be overwhelming, because you won't be able to turn it off. It'll be as if all your senses were amplified 1,000 times, and you'll need to learn to manage this sensitivity, to create energetic boundaries, to distinguish what's yours from what's others, to discern which information is useful and which is noise. But when you learn to navigate these gifts, they become the most precious tools you have, tools to help others awaken, to guide lost souls, to bring light where there's darkness. Asterisk, the universe will reveal your soul mission. Asterisk, throughout your life, you felt you had a purpose, something important you came to do here, but couldn't identify what. In 2026, this will become crystal clear. You'll have profound revelations about why you incarnated, what soul contracts you made before coming, who you promised to help, what transformation you came to facilitate. And this revelation will come through dreams, meditations, synchronicities, through meaningful encounters with people who'll give you puzzle pieces, through past life memories where you already did similar work, and when you finally see the complete picture, everything makes sense. Every pain you went through was preparation. Every loss was karmic cleansing. Every challenge was initiation. Everything conspired to bring you to this moment, where you're ready to fulfill the mission your soul chose. Asterisk, the universe will reveal transcendent beauty in everything. Asterisk, this will be one of the most beautiful revelations. You'll begin to see divine perfection in everything, not just in beautiful things, but in pain, suffering, ugliness, darkness. You'll see that everything is God playing. Everything is consciousness experiencing itself. And there's no mistake in the universe. Everything is exactly as it should be. You'll look at something you once judged ugly and see transcendent beauty. We'll look at something you once judged wrong and see perfection. We'll look at something you once judged bad and see divine purpose. And tears will flow constantly. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude for the unbearable beauty of everything, for the impossible perfection of this existence, for the incomprehensible privilege of being alive and conscious to witness this. If you're feeling this gratitude emerging now, leave the emoji in the comments and prepare yourself, because what comes next is even deeper. ###. The universe will deliver. And when this cycle closes, Pisces, when you've dissolved all illusions and seen all revelations, the universe will give you gifts that completely transcend human comprehension. Asterisk, the gift of infinite compassion. Asterisk, you'll develop a compassion so deep, so vast, so unconditional, that it will embrace absolutely everything. Every being, every situation, every experience. You'll look at the worst human and see only a confused soul needing love. We'll look at the greatest suffering and see only consciousness experiencing contrast. We'll look at the greatest darkness and see only absence of light, not evil itself. And from this compassion will be born a capacity to heal you can't imagine. Just your presence will heal people. Your energy will calm environments. Your words will dissolve ancient pains, because you'll no longer be a person helping other people. You'll be love in human form, touching, healing, transforming everything you encounter. Asterisk, the gift of living in multiple dimensions. Asterisk, you'll develop the capacity to be simultaneously in multiple planes of existence, physically here on Earth, but consciously connected to higher dimensions. You'll converse with someone while simultaneously receiving information from the Akashic field. We'll work on physical plane while operating healings on astral plane. We'll live a normal human life while your consciousness dances among stars, and there will be no conflict in this, because you'll realize all dimensions are equally real, and you belong to all of them. Asterisk, the gift of conscious creation. Asterisk, when you realize your consciousness creating reality, you become conscious creator, not through manifestation techniques, but through total alignment with universal flow. What you need appears. What needs to leave disappears. What needs to happen happens, without effort, without control, just pure flow. And your life becomes a spontaneous work of art, a dance between form and void, a music between silence and sound, a painting between color and white space. Asterisk, the gift of eternal peace. Asterisk, and the greatest gift of all, Pisces, will be peace. Not that temporary peace that depends on external circumstances, but eternal peace that remains regardless of what happens. The peace of knowing you're indestructible. The peace of knowing everything is perfect. The peace of knowing there's nothing to achieve because you're already complete. The peace of knowing there's nowhere to go because you're already home. You'll stop seeking, because you'll realize what you sought was always here. You'll stop waiting, because you'll realize the perfect moment is now. You'll stop suffering, because you'll realize suffering is just resistance to what is. And when resistance ceases, only peace remains. Infinite, eternal, unshakable. If you made it this far, if you felt every word resonate in your soul, leave in the comments. I accept the complete transmutation of 2026. And if you haven't subscribed to the Astrological Revelations channel yet, do it now, because there's still one crucial chapter left. The chapter where I'll give you the sacred practices you need to start this year. Practices that will prepare your energetic field to receive these revelations without fragmenting in the process. And then the final call that will seal everything. So click subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go together to the final chapters. Because, Pisces, you didn't get here by accident. Your soul orchestrated this exact moment, this meeting between you and these words, because you're ready. Maybe the mind still doubts, but the soul knows, and 2026 will prove the soul always knew. Stay with me. The most sacred journey is just beginning. Hurry and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Descrição Pisces, what's for you in 20 scary. The script explores the spiritual awakening of Pisces in 2026, presenting it as a year of deep, irreversible transformation. The video opens with a powerful introduction, warning that Pisces is about to cross a dimensional portal that will dissolve the boundaries between reality and illusion, dream and waking life, physical and spiritual. The tone is mystical, urgent, and intimate, inviting viewers to prepare for a journey of ego dissolution and consciousness expansion. The script is divided into chapters that examine the signs of awakening, dreams that become reality, impossible synchronicities, and experiences of ego dissolution. Real-life accounts of Pisceans who have experienced altered states of consciousness, visions, memories of past lives, and connections with higher intelligences are shared. The video emphasizes that the process may be frightening, but also liberating, as Pisces is destined to remember their true spiritual nature and their mission as a channel between dimensions. The script ends with a call to action, encouraging viewers to subscribe to the channel to receive guidance on navigating this awakening, as well as sacred practices to prepare their energetic field. The tone is one of invitation to courage, acceptance, and surrender to the flow of the universe.